The Stage Door Show, celebrating the independent artist. With your host, Dave Hondel.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Stage Door Show tonight. I'm Dave Hondel. I am beyond honored to have tonight's guest. She's a multi-award-winning legend in the entertainment industry and a true pop culture icon. It's my pleasure to introduce Toni Basil to the show. Thank you so much for joining me, Toni.
Hi, Dave, and thanks for such a wonderful intro.
Well, you definitely deserve it.
Very excited to be on iHeartRadio. I love the name of your show, Stage Door.
My daughter and my son are both actors, and so we go through a lot of stage doors when they are performing. So I'm like, that would be a great name for a show. And I thought, the stage door could be anything. Musicians go through stage doors, actors go through stage doors, writers, and so on, and TV personalities. So I thought it would be a good, appropriate name.
Yes, and it's so important when that stage manager opens that door for you, and you're not one of those young kids that are standing outside the stage door holding autograph books and little pictures and to sign and stuff like that. No, it's magical to walk through that stage door. I remember it so well. From 1947 to 1957, my dad was the orchestra leader at the Chicago Theater in Chicago, and we visited my dad every weekend for those 10 years, and I stood on the side of the stage watching every act known imaginable, from Sinatra to Josephine Baker to Nat King Cole, and of course all those fabulous opening acts that were like jugglers and tap dancers. And actually my mother's side of the family, they were a vaudevillian act called Billy Wells and the Forfaits. So several times a year, they would play the Chicago Theater, and I would see my family and my father all on the stage at the same time. So it was such a gift for me, to have that kind of upbringing. You can't buy that at Juilliard. Sorry, there you go.
Yeah, and also your mother's family also performed on the Ed Sullivan Show, right?
They did, and they performed, Billy Wells and the Forfaits performed in 1962, as well as in 1964 when the Beatles premiered on that show. And actually, a little trivia is Davy Jones, which was eventually, of course, people know him as the Monkees. He won a Tony Award for a Broadway show called Oliver when he was a little kid, and he performed that day also on that same show. And I did a musical number with Davy when I choreographed the Monkees film called Head. We did a song together called Daddy's Song. So that 1964 performance of my aunts, I turned out I knew everyone on that show eventually because I did meet the Beatles. I did know the Beatles too. So yes, and I blessed. I mean, sometimes I tell these stories and I can't believe them. They're just so fabulous.
But, Toni, when did you know that you wanted to continue in those footsteps? I know that, the acrobatic comedian act that your mother's family had, but her side had, but also your father's orchestra side. So you had music and you also had, dancing and acrobatics. So, at what point did you know that this was going to be your calling in life?
Well, I think it was from the get-go. I stood on the side of the stage, and you go into your parents' their business, and their business was show business, and I just knew so much about it, and I loved it. And how can you not love all of that wonderful music and dance? And it's like an aphrodisiac, So I was always going to ballet class. My mom would take me to ballet class every day. I think I've been to ballet class and dance every day of my life. And still to this day, I go into my studio and I dance. I will dance later on tonight.
Right. Wow. I mean, the other thing is, talking about dance, I think that a lot of listeners, maybe some of our younger listeners might not know this, but definitely our older listeners might, but you did extensive work in some of the most iconic 60 films there were, like Viva Las Vegas and Pajama Party. Talk about that experience, because that, to me, that's amazing.
Yeah, that was kind of when I graduated high school, came to LA, and boy, I started to work immediately because, I was always part of, I was always a cheerleader, and cheerleaders, and I was always loved as a child social dancing. And when I came to LA, all of a sudden it was the 60s, and it was the go-go era, the pony, the jerk, the twist, all of those dances, and they were club dances. And the dancers that were working in television and movies at the time were jazz dancers. They were older dancers. So I plus my mentor, David Winters, who was a phenomenal dancer, actor, starred in West Side Story.
Yeah.
We were part of a scene that we were dancers that were club dancers, but were heavily trained. And that made a difference, because a lot of the dancers that were the older dancers that were in those American musicals, they weren't going to clubs. They weren't doing the twist. They weren't doing the pony, but we were. So we fell into this pocket, and man, there was about 15 to 20 of us that danced in every, like television show like Shindig and Hullabaloo and the Tammy Show, and did all the movies. I mean, there was about 15 or 20 of us that just worked all the time. And that's how I became a choreographer, because I assisted David Winters in all these iconic film.
Yeah, just amazing. You're just very versatile as well. And you also appeared in Easy Rider, 5 Easy Pieces, and the last movie, which was directed by Dennis Hopper. I mean, do you feel that versatility as an artist can be attributed to your entertainment upbringing?
I think so, because between standing on the side of the stage and seeing these live acts, it was during the time of what they called stage shows, where there was a stage show and then a movie. So I saw all the American movies also, and I saw all those great musicals. And I think that I always thought show business was everything. There was acting, there was singing, there was dancing, there was, putting the show together, figuring out the costumes. I mean, that's what I was brought up with, the kind of full-service bank, so to speak. So, yes, I know that the early upbringing was so important. I just, I came loaded, so to speak, with information that you just can't get in, even, as I said, 4 years at Juilliard. You just can't.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And that brings me, speaking of dance, I want to continue on the choreography, because you formed in the 70s, early 70s, the groundbreaking group, The Lockers, with Don Campbell, and it really pioneered dance as we know it today, and it broke down a lot of barriers. And, I want all of our listeners to know that you, throughout your career, have been an iconic pioneer in dance, and really were one of the main reasons dance is the art form that it is today. And, talk about the Lockers, because, that group, I spent so much time watching your amazing dance on like Soul Train and the other shows, and, with the Lockers. And it's just an amazing thing, because that's really when that pioneered that whole dance, and the whole street dance craze started when you formed that group, right?
Yes. Don created a dance called the Campbell Walk, and it had a lot of stuff going for it. It had power moves. It had interesting connection with an audience. It wasn't really a social dance. We would go to clubs. Boy-girl partner would dance. We would dance together. And then as the club cleared out and there was room on the dance floor, then everybody started to do the Campbell Walk, which was a big theatrical dance. It wasn't a dance that you would necessarily face your partner with. And eventually, he had a song called the Campbell Lock, and we tried to promote it, and it kind of ran its course. But then with the people that I had tried to promote it with, which was interestingly enough, Dick Clark people, they called me up one day and said, "Do you remember that guy, Don Campbell? Are there more of him? We want something interesting for the Roberta Flack special." And she had a big song called "Killing Me Softly," and it was a huge crossover hit. It was just R&B hit, pop hit, everything. And so I thought, ooh, maybe if we put together some dancers for this show, we can do a spin-off and it can be a group. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And, the television audience really didn't know what hit them. We were so unique. And guess what? We were absolutely like a vaudevillian act. It was the whole premise of, from my history and my childhood, I was able to, kind of present us in a format that I had seen so much before, like the opening acts at the Chicago Theater. And so that's how it happened. And I think all the kids out there that were great, what are now called street dancers, whether it's popping or locking or hip-hop or house or breaking, I think what was always considered kid stuff and a social dance, whatever the era, all of a sudden kids started to think, wow, maybe I can earn a living at my art. And that's exactly what happened. Then Boogaloo Sam formed the Electric Boogaloos, which was during the popping era, and group after group after group. I mean, we really, really opened up the door. We opened up the door.
Did you ever imagine that, to this day that street dance would be as popular as it is? And like you said, you were there from the beginning of it, but did you realize that it would be like that now?
I think we were flying by the seat of our pants. So like when you're doing a movie or when you're putting together a music video, you really don't think of the station, the train station that it will all arrive at. It's the train ride and getting it together. You don't think of the ending. There was nothing like us, and we were working all the time. So I don't think so. And I don't think it was till, really hip hop and music videos, when hip hop dancers were, dancing in videos behind rappers, did I really realize how much we opened the door. I mean, we were on Saturday Night Live, Midnight Special. We were just what Cheech and Chong did. Cheech and Chong became a comedic act that would open up and be on these pop culture shows where comics had never been, on a show with a Billy Preston or the Beatles. And we were the dance act that was able to break that barrier. I think now in retrospect, who go, whoa, holy smoke, look what happened. Look what happened.
And dance, I mean, obviously is in your blood because you still dance to this day. And, you dance, you told me almost every night. I mean, that to me, that's amazing. And you're telling a story basically with your movement and your body. And, I think that, to be able to do that and do it effectively, I think there's no better art form, as far as I'm concerned, to be able to tell a story through dance. And, it's just a very powerful medium, I believe.
Absolutely. I mean, I think you saw that in the American musicals and the numbers that Gene Kelly did, like for American in Paris, and you saw West Side Story where the dancers were telling the story. But it's a short-lived life, let me tell you, because the physicality is like a sportsman, It doesn't have the longevity of a singer or even a comic or even an actor. It's a tough life because you can't really, like if you're a singer, you can go into the shower and sing. You can't go in the shower and dance. You've got to find a space, and the floor has got to be right, and you got to find the right shoes for the floor, and wow. So, you need to be able to parlay it into being a choreographer and or both a choreographer and a director, which was what happened with a Bob Fosse, who danced in his early years and then became a choreographer and then became a director.
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing to me that the longevity that your career has had with dance and choreography is just amazing to me. And which kind of brings me to this next topic here is you've choreographed some major tours and shows and concerts for some iconic legends like yourself, like David Bowie and Bette Midler, Tina Turner, David Byrne. I mean, some of those shows that you've choreographed for them, obviously you've become very close to them, but do you have any memorable stories, I guess, from your time doing that?
Oh, I have so many memorable stories. I tell you something, what they all have in common is their work ethic. The work ethic of these people that you mentioned, they all get to their art a different way. They all approach things, coming from a different place, but the work ethic and the amount of work that they put in from pre-production to the creation of the show and the development and the rehearsal and then the tour. I mean, wow. It's pretty amazing, and that is something all of them have in common, is a work ethic. And Mick Jagger, all of them have a work ethic that is unstoppable. And you just have to.
It's not just the stage shows, but you've also recently, last year, choreographed the Quentin Tarantino Once Upon a Time in Hollywood movie. And so choreographing a film versus like a stage show, how does that differ? And what was that experience like? Because I think you made a cameo in that as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Well, it does differ because you approach it in a different way. You're also reading a script that somebody else has written, that the choreography has to be appropriate to the script. And working for somebody like Quentin Tarantino, who writes and directs and produces his own pieces, he has the flexibility to change his mind, to decide to have a dance number go a different direction. Or, hey, Toni, I've got an idea. What if? And this is like, in a night shoot, 4 a.m. Could you do this and that? And it's just, a lot of freestyling with a Quentin Tarantino, and of course with the cast that he has and the actors that he works with. Oh my gosh, it was a dream job. It was so fantastic. And what was so much fun is, the movie takes place at the end of the 60s. And so I got to jump right back to my early days of all those 60s television shows and movies that I choreographed. So I was suited for that job. I was well suited for that job.
Now, I think I read also that you were surprised that Tarantino actually knew a lot of about the dances in the 60s and knew a lot about that era. So talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the legend of Tarantino is that he's got a photographic memory. And believe me, he does. I remember sitting in the trailer and when we were in pre-production and we were talking about, because we were kind of reenacting for Leonardo a scene out of Hullabaloo, which was a TV show that had all sorts of pop performers on and dancers from the mid 60s to late 60s, and we were talking about Michael Landon performing, because they would have an actor host the show, a different kind of actor that was an iconic actor from a TV show, a different one every week. And I said, Michael Landon actually did the Freddie, and Quentin, and he said, the Freddie, and then he did the Freddie. And I looked at the other producers, and I thought, yeah, Toni, you're lucky you know your stuff on this one, because Quentin, sure, you can't squeeze anything by this guy. Oh, it was just spectacular to work with these people. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I can imagine what a pleasure that would have been. And the single "Mickey," was installed in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as one of the groundbreaking singles of the '80s, and it literally topped every major chart worldwide. And the one thing I found interesting, and you and I talked on the phone about this the other day, but you created the video, that video before MTV even existed, and you edited it, you shot, you cast, everything was all done by you, and I believe you even edited the video in a hotel room. So talk about that, because I thought that was amazing to me. What a great story.
Yes, well, it was in a way very lucky. I was asked to record for this European company, and they in England were using promo video of songs. Not an MTV situation, just promo videos of songs on shows. And so they asked me to do some video promos for the first 3 songs that I recorded, which were all Devo songs, because I was very close friends with the Devo guys. And they left me totally alone. I mean, the company was in Europe. They just sent me the money and just let me put it together. I was like, and they loved what I did. And then they sent me more money to finish up an album and to finish up some more videos. And it was those videos that Mickey was part of. But yeah, I mean, I was shooting more than one video in a day, actually, because I was doing everything on a white cyc or a black cyc. That's, for your audience, the background. And I wasn't like changing locations that you see so much now. That is time consuming, packing up, all the equipment and changing, to another location. Everything was on the same cyc. So I was able to shoot more than one video in a day, and I was able to deliver. I just had all these ideas because I had been doing some live shows at the time. I had left the lockers. I started to sing and put on shows. So I had kind of all these creative ideas from these shows I had been doing. So I once again, it was like, it was time consuming. But I was prepared. I was prepared for this. And the BBC saw these promotional videos and asked me, as an American girl, to do a half-hour special. And that special in Britain was what really kicked off my singing career. Previous to that, they were promoting another song called Nobody, which had a fabulous video. But also on my BBC special, I did Mickey. Now, we didn't run the video with the cheerleaders. I did Mickey with Shabadoo from the Lockers and this other crazy punk dancer called Spaz Attack, who was in a lot of Devo videos, and a punk band behind me. But the song kicked off. It was huge. It became a big hit within 6 weeks of that airing. And then the Australian company picked it up, and then I got an American deal. So that American deal, and by then in '82, MTV had already been started. I think they started at the end of '81, the September of '81. And once again, I was prepared. I had a song and I had a video that could go on MTV. So being a little bit of ahead of the time to prepare and get it together, and then all of a sudden be able to deliver. And that's what was kind of magical about it, is, I was shooting that video, Mickey, in 1980, and it was a big hit on MTV in '82. And the song didn't get old. And the song still isn't old. It's kind of an anthem.
It's definitely an anthem. I still love that song.
I actually re-recorded on all streaming platforms. You can download Hey Mickey, which is a fresh, it's not a new version of it because it's a sound-alike. It sounds exactly like the original. I used actually a couple of the original cheerleaders that we used on the original record and a couple of Bette Midler's Harlettes to do the chant. And so you can, and it's it's just you can hear it better. It's better quality. It's a better quality track. And I also re-recorded Shopping A to Z, which was really a fun video as well as a fun song also. So yeah, you can go see those.
I want to tell our listeners, and this is something that I learned by doing some research, but that outfit, the cheerleader outfit, is your original cheerleader outfit from your high school cheerleading days. Am I correct in that?
Las Vegas High. I was head cheerleader after 1957, and stage shows were closing down all over the United States. Dad we moved to Vegas, where he became the orchestra leader at the Sahara Hotel, and that's where I went to high school, was in Las Vegas. So yeah, that's LVHS is right on my letter sweater, and you can see the video on my YouTube channel, Toni Basil's House, with actually my new master smack in it. It fits like a glove, and you can't tell the difference, but it sounds great. And yeah, it's all there on my channel. I think I have over 100 videos on that channel.
Yeah, I mean, I had such a great time looking at the videos, and I still continue to look at them. And, so all of our artists out there, I first of all, it's a pleasure to have you on, Toni, because from your vast experience, we have a lot of independent artists that listen to our show, and it's really, our platform is really to celebrate those indie artists out there. And, what I'd like to do with my guests is to ask them to give some words of inspiration, because I know a lot of times indie artists, at times, it's a difficult road, and, sometimes you want to give up. But, I always implore my artist listeners to keep going, because eventually you're going to get there. You just have to put in the work ethic like you're talking about. But what kind of inspiration can you give our listeners?
Well, you have to be a constant student. You have to have a great work ethic. All from David Bowie to Tina to Bette. We did so much research for all of those shows. You try to learn as much history about your art form that you can, and you have to yet stay present. You have to look into the future and also see what is happening out there in those little nooks and crannies. I think that's, just so important. The fact that I ended up doing Quentin's film, and it took place in the 60s, all of a sudden, from my history of the 60s, I was working in the years 2000. What can I say? And I parlayed that into, I did a webinar this last summer, which I'm going to rerun again. And it was 5 weeks each weekend of the dance, the songs and the dance crazes of the 60s. And I had great guests on it. I actually had one of the original Ikettes for Tina Turner. I did one show that was a complete salute to Tina Turner, because what people don't realize is Tina's Ikettes were choreographed by Tina Turner. And wow, there you go. So I'm going to rerun that series on Zoom within the next month. Actually, everything that I do, I usually post on tonibasil.net, so you can always go to that to see what is happening. But I do have, the Lockers Facebook, an official Toni Basil Facebook, personal Facebook, Instagram, tweet. I think my tweet is Toni_Basil, and the Instagram is at official Toni Basil, and my YouTube channel. I'm always posting everything up on my YouTube channel, and I have merchandise. I have T-shirts from every era, T-shirts from all sorts of different, my different decades. And that's you can find that on tonibasil.net also. It's Toni Basil, I think it's Toni Basil merch. But you can go to once again, tonibasil.net and find the merchandise. So, and you can hear Hey Mickey and Shopping A to Z on all streaming platforms. What else can I say?
Everybody needs to go on these social media sites, and like I said, the YouTube site, Toni Basil's House, is just, you can spend hours looking at those great videos that you created, and tonibasil.net again, for the merchandise. And I can't thank you enough, Toni, for spending time with me tonight on my show, and it's been a real honor, and hopefully we can have you back at some point too.
Absolutely. I mean, look, maybe when I launch the webinars again, we can touch base, and whatever, anything else, something always comes along out of nowhere. Quentin Tarantino knocks on your door, and you go, wow, holy smoke, I'm off again, so there you go.
Well, we'd love to have you back. Yeah, I mean, exactly. That's my mantra is you never know. You never know tomorrow's going to bring, and it could be something that changes your life. So, but thank you so much again.
Oh, thank you, Dave. I love your show, love iHeartRadio. I'm so glad to be, on it and part of it.
Thank you so much, Toni. And thank you to all of our listeners for taking the time to join us on the Stage Door Show tonight. Good night.